Hello, today's video is about generating reports. This of course cannot be done until after you have given an assessment on Edulastic. So if you haven't done that yet, you will not be able to do what's on the video today. So you may need to come back and watch that again after you've actually given an assessment. So to get to your reports, you can click your handy dandy little bar over here, and Insights is the name that we're going to go to be able to get those reports. Once you do, you're going to see lots of different options here. All of these reports have to do with one single assessment, which is most of what my video is going to be about today. If you scroll down, you can see there are other types of reports like multiple assessments reports. So if you gave lots of assessments on the same standard, you would maybe want to pull up this report so you can compare all of the different assessments for your students. And the same kind of here with the standards mastery report. It would show you what your students have done all through maybe the whole year, or if you're reassessing things over and over again, this would be a great tool for you to use for that. This student profile report is going to pull you up all of the things just about your one individual student, all of the assessments they've done this year and how they've done on those standards just for one individual kid. Most of these reports can be accessed through this single assessment report. So that's why I'm going to mainly focus on that today. We have lots of different categories here, but again, all of these subcategories can be reached from just the blanket assessment summary. So that's why I'm just going to start there, and I'll show you all the others as we generate a report. So I'm going to click Assessment Summary. Once I do, it pops up some filters here that are going to help me figure out which class I'm looking at, what data I want to look at. So you put in your school year. You can talk about all of the grade levels if you teach multiple grades to kind of filter that out. Again, if you teach multiple subjects, you could filter that out. Since I only teach one grade level and subject, I'm not even going to worry about filling that in because it already knows what tests I've given. So you could just look here, and here are all of the assessments that I've given this year. So I can just click right here at the top. This is the last one I gave. This is the one I want to look at. You could go over here and say I want it to show me anyone who took the whole test, which I like because then I can compare all my classes at one time. If you're just wanting to look at one individual class, you could click that one class that took it and not all of them. You could just click a group if you have groups set up, or grade levels, or whatever. Again, lots of filters here you could use. I want to just look at all of my students because that's going to give me some more data. Over here, this performance stuff is set by your district, so there's nothing really to change there, so you can just kind of ignore that. So once you have all your settings set that you're ready to do, you can go ahead and click Apply. So this is our general overall summary of the data. So on this assessment that I gave, the average score you can see right here for my students, and the average student score as a percentage. So also down here, you can see how many students took the assessment and how many students I assigned the assessment to, and this is how many actually took it. So this is the students that were absent or didn't take it or whatever. There's a nice little graphic over here about how many students scored in the proficient, basic, and below basic bands according to my district preset bands. You can scroll down and you can see your data broken up by classes. So here's my 8th hour class, the total number of students that assigned and how many actually took it, and then the average score for that class. So that's kind of a cool breakdown to see, like, oh, this class did way better. Well, that was my accelerated class. That makes sense. They go a little bit faster pace, so they knew a little bit more stuff. But other than that, it looks like their breakdown of my classes was about the same. So that's some interesting data you can look at there. Some more data over here when you scroll over about the minimum score that somebody got, the maximum score, average score. This is all some statistics up here with standard deviations and variance of scores. So just some more breakdown of numbers there. And this is where I kind of start with my process, and then I'm like, okay, our average score was 50. That wasn't really great. I want to know what happened. Like, what problems did they miss? Because this was a practice map test. So I want to know what they scored, what they didn't score well on, because that's what I need to review before we take the map. So up here at the top, there are all of these tabs that will take us to all those other report options that were on the first page. That's why I always just click the first report, because I can get to all of the other ones from here. And when you click Subgroup tab, it'll take a second, but it'll kind of show you that data that we saw on the last page, but in a graph that's a little bit easier to see. So you can again see that most of my classes scored around the same, except for my accelerated class. You can come down here and see some more of those same statistics with the average score, and the district score is just the percentage of students who took this throughout the entire district, not just my classes. All right, I'm going to go over here to analysis, see what's on this tab. This tab I really like because this is showing me what questions my students did not do well on. So you can see right away, question 15, only 19% of my students got it correct. So that's not very good. And question 4, only 20% of my students got it correct. And as you can see, as I hover over it, it tells me the average time that my students spent on this question, and then the average of the people in the districts that took it. So that's kind of a cool comparison there. This green line up here is the average score percentage. It's usually the percentage that's for this here, these bars, and the green is the time over here. So you got like two different things going on here. This is how much time it took the students on average, the green bar, and this is how much they got correct. There were a lot of questions on this assessment, so you can see here 76% of my students got it right, and they only took 46 minutes on it, so, or 46 seconds, or yeah. So overall, they really did good, and they didn't need to think about it very much. So that means they're good on that question. The same with some of these over here. They did really great, didn't spend much time on it. That's probably not something I need to cover. But yeah, this is concerning down here where I have students that are taking an average of 2.5 minutes on this question and still did not do well on it. So these are some of the questions that I need to review. You can click on that single question, as you can see, and they will highlight down here. That was question 15. This is the standard that it matches with. This is how many points it was worth, and the district score, my class's score, and then it even breaks it down into which classes got low here. So you can see this class did okay, but still not great, and here are the rest of them pretty low on that question. So I probably definitely need to go over that. So I can go back to my assessment and see what that question was. If I click back to reset, now you can scroll down and see every single question in their breakdown. Every single question, what standard it referenced to, the percentages again, and the breakdown of all of the classes and the percentages. So it's kind of really cool to see that with the colors too, and how that broke down. So you can definitely go look back and be like, look, that one was an EE, that's equations. This is number sense, ratios and proportions, ratios and proportions. So it looks like I got some reviews there to do in a couple different areas. So I would definitely go back and look at those questions for sure. The frequency tab, I'm going to click on next. So that tells me the types of questions that were on there. So on multiple choice items, my students got 64% of those correct. On a different type of multiple choice, this is multiple choice, multiple response. So that means they could click more than one. This is just regular multiple choice like we're used to. They only got 57%. Down here in a drop down box, which is kind of like multiple choice, is a little bit different. They did not score well. So maybe too, I need to go over like, how do we answer those questions correctly and kind of look back at those. This choice matrix is kind of like matching. They did really well on those. Labeling an image with drag and drop, we did not do well on that one. So we probably need to go over kind of some type of those items there. I really like when you scroll down some really good breakdown here. Question number 1, I can see exactly that it was multiple choice, multiple response. This was the standard. It was worth 1 point, and 68 of my students got it right. Then I like over here, I can see exactly what kids clicked, like the percentage of kids that clicked the answers. Let's go to one that doesn't have so many choices. So like question 2, which is one that they did not do well on. Here was the standard, and most of my students picked C, which you can tell, C is the correct answer, which only 29% of my students picked. But look, 57 of my students clicked D. So I need to look back at that and be like, okay, what was the choice D? And that might help me figure out what type of distractor was that they did not understand. And you can kind of see that some of these are lightly shaded gray. It's kind of hard because once I put my mouse over it, it changes. It kind of gets rid of the shading, but like this D, when I take off of it, it's shaded gray, and this A is shaded gray. And that's telling me those were big distractors, and those were ones that my students definitely clicked on when they should not have. So I not only need to go back to that question, but look at what distractors and what mistakes they're making and clear up any misconceptions there. So I like looking at this report a lot. Over here on the standards report, this, of course, is going to give me my data by standard. So on this standard, 75% of my students did really good, but oh, look over here. This was not an okay standard. So I need to not maybe only just look at one question, but all of the questions in that standard, so I can definitely help them with that, because that's someplace we struggle. And it'll do that for all of the standards that are coded in your assessment. So I need to go back and look at these. Both of these are NSAs. Probably along the same lines, we need to do some review right there. So that's a real great breakdown, especially if you have an assessment like this. It's a whole year review, so you can really tell where your students are struggling. Again, you can scroll down here and you can actually see a breakdown by student and what students did well on what standards. So that's a really great tool there by student breakdown as well. Again, you can go here to the Students tab and we can kind of see some of that same information. We can see how many students got proficient, basic, below basic. That was the graphic kind of from the first one. Here it's written in a different like bar graph, so we can kind of see the bell curve going on here. Again, you could click on these students and you could actually click on a student name and it would take you to that student screen with all of the reports about that specific student. I'm not going to do that because these are actual real life students. So anyway, lots of different reports and awesome stuff that you can look at here to take to your data teams and take to your meetings and all kinds of stuff. Again, you can go back to your main Insight page and run up any of those other reports that you want to if you specifically know the one you want. Up here, this button, of course, will share it with anyone like in your school or that you have already set up, maybe your district administrators. This will, of course, print the current page. You'll have to, if you want to print several of these screens, you'll have to go back and click print here and go back and click print here. This button will download it as an Excel sheet. So for those of you that maybe like to manipulate your data on your own times and in your own ways with Excel, that's what that is for. So there's the general rundown of the insights and reports, and I hope you had a great time learning this today. And if you need to go back and rewatch that, please do so. Let me know if you have any questions.